Hey, fellow warriors. Welcome to the Ezer Mindset podcast with your host, Altimese Nichole. She's an award-winning founder to the Ezer Agency, a philanthropist, mother, daughter, and friend. Here with the Ezer Mindset podcast, we cultivate a safe space and community to be inspired by women worldwide that strive to be the best version of themselves boldly, softly, and unapologetically. And Ezer is a warrior created to help. So let's begin to help one another in family, fun, faith, life, and love.
Hello, and thank you. Thank you so much for joining the Ezer Mindset podcast. Once again, I am your host, Altimese Nichole, and I am here today with the lovely, beautiful, amazing Lakesha Cole. She is the founder of ShePR. She is a wife, a mother, a daughter, your PR bestie, and one of my dearest friends. Hi, friend. Y'all, it's a beautiful thing to be able to cultivate friendship that's genuine, authentic, just full of support and accountability and honesty and just love. And I'm so grateful that, Keisha, that you're in my life and how you have just literally, there are some parts of Ezer that just would not be what it is today had it not been for your sister girlfriend moments.
We're not supposed to be crying this
Look, it would not be how it is now if it had not been for your sister girlfriend moments of being like, don't forget who the F you are.
Listen, never.
Never.
Listen, we're not doing a lot of things, but that for sure isn't one of them, right?
Yes. So I just want to give you your flowers and talk with you about like sisterhood and, what it means to you, how, we've collaborated together, built together, and we continue to just grow together in our journey. So how in the world did you even get into PR?
Well, my agency I launched, it was birthed out of the pandemic, like millions of other people, those who are listening. I had to pivot. I had a successful retail business for about 8 years. I had 2 brick and mortar stores, one in North Carolina, one in Virginia. The year before COVID hit, a hurricane came through North Carolina, and it just kind of rocked the small business community. Businesses didn't reopen as quick as they used to. It just took a long time for that foot traffic to kind of come back. And it kind of really didn't come back the way it was before. And then you add COVID on top of that. And it was just a no-brainer for me that I needed to close the doors on both stores and pivot into something else. I was already making a decision to pivot into something new because when I started my retail business, I had 1 kid. I have 3 now. And so life looks and feels a lot different, right? And so I wanted something that didn't require so much of my time outside of the house. Because you imagine running retail stores. You're there, you're interacting with customers. Even though, I had staff to help run the store, my presence in my store was still a big part of the attraction. People expected to see me. People wouldn't shop if they didn't see my car parked out front, right?
Oh, wow.
And so I had built this brand to where people wanted to come in, they wanted to shop. I call it a community gathering place. They wanted to come in and shop, but they also wanted to come in and talk about their business and their ideas and collaborations and partnerships. And so it just became that place in our community that didn't survive the hurricane and COVID together. And so I grieved the loss of that business, but I didn't have too much time to grieve because, we got to keep it moving. We got kids to feed and mortgages to pay and all that stuff. And so I knew that I never paid for advertising or marketing to promote my retail store. It was all driven by PR. And so I knew that I knew how to do this for my business. I knew that I could teach others how to do it and do it for other small business owners. And that was when that light bulb clicked on and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. Literally, I closed my retail store on Friday and launched my PR agency that Monday. And I never looked back.
Wow.
But the traditional, well, I should say I do have a degree in journalism, minor in public relations. I wasn't just jumping into something I had absolutely no knowledge of. This is my traditional background, education. And so I decided to come on home.
Yes, where the heart is, exactly where the heart is. And for those listening, Keisha and I actually met in a Facebook group. Like, we met in a PR Facebook group. Like, I can't even remember. I know it was about vision. You remember what was the content? What was the post about?
So someone had posted a question asking about what type of software do we use to collect PR metrics and data and readership and viewerships and shares and all of that. And then I commented what program I use. You commented on my comment with the question. I answer your question. And then I felt like we were hijacking the girls' posts and hopping each other's DMs and just finished talking there. And we literally, I'm sorry. Then we literally talked every day since then.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I do remember. I remember now. And I remember it was like an instant click. It was instant, and we were just like, "Oh, girl, you stuck with me, girl."
And then after we had been chit-chatting for a couple of weeks, you and I had decided we were going to leverage our skill sets, right?
Yes.
So I was still building my team. I think I only had a virtual assistant at that point. So still building my team. And I came to you and I said, hey, I'm pitching clients. Can I list you in my deck as someone who's a part of my team so that they don't just think it's just this one person running everything? And you said yes. And so I included you in my deck. And then we had pitched the same client. And so when the client read my deck, she sent an email to both of us saying, I think the subject was happy accident or something like that.
Yes.
And she realized that I knew that we knew each other. And instead of picking one over the other, she asked if she could work with both of us. And so that was our first partnership.
Yes. It certainly was. And it was beautiful to be able to do that and build. And I want to say that was our first 6-figure client together too.
Yes.
That was a good deal, a solid deal with an amazing client and partner and an amazing mission. It was a really good one. Yeah, it was a great one. And I just, there's this weird concept out there about no new friends where you just gotta. Yeah, it's very toxic. And, I've always been one to just be open to the possibilities of sisterhood and friendship and really allowing myself to be vulnerable in those spaces. But I also am very aware that they don't see it the same.
Right. And now I will say in my earlier years, I was probably one of the toxic ones of not wanting new friends. I would even say friendship applications are closed. I'm not accepting any new ones. It was usually on the heels of just meeting just really awful people. Right. And then me trying to protect myself of not wanting to invite that type of energy or those types of people into my space. But those boundary girls, you ain't got to worry about them. They're here. They are here.
Please share with me, share with us, the importance of boundaries and how you've cultivated boundaries in your business. How have you been able to cultivate them and honor them? Because here's the thing, we can create boundaries all day, every day, but if we don't enforce them.
Yes. You have to
tell us the secrets
that you put into place. For me, it was probably driven by hurt, honestly. You're in a friendship or some sort of whatever ship you're on, right? And you start to feel like the person isn't reciprocating the same level of care or the same level of loyalty or the same level of respect. And you really just get to a point to where you just get tired of being ran over.
Yeah.
You get tired of being tried, right?
Right.
So it's like that was really what snapped me into, I don't like the way this feels. I don't like the way the person I become when I feel disrespected or harmed or any of those things. Like, it was more so of me checking myself. I don't treat myself this way, right? So why am I going to allow you to treat me that way? And so those who know me, I don't play about me. And so I'm going to need you to not play about me too, because I don't play about you when it comes to you. You know how I am. And so setting those boundaries for me was more inward. What do I want for myself, right? How do I honor myself? How do I respect myself? How do I value myself? If you can't bare minimum match that, there's no place for you here in my space, in my life. And that's really where the creating those boundaries started for me. Enforcing them is a little bit harder because it doesn't just happen on the first try, right? Especially when you have people with kind hearts like ourselves who want to give people the benefit of the doubt. You want to be able to extend grace. Everyone deserves a second chance, right? But when does it get to a point to where it's more harmful than helpful? And so enforcing those boundaries for me looked like me telling people no, me cutting off access to certain people. You don't get to experience me in that way because you didn't treat it with care the first time. You're not getting the second time to mishandle me, right? And so, did I answer your question?
You did. and you tapped on, like, the boundaries are also connected to how you care for yourself.
It all goes back to self.
Yeah, it all goes back to self. How did you develop that love for yourself, within yourself?
It was my upbringing. I can't even take full credit for it. I come from a very large family. I'm the oldest of 11. Blended family, right? Product of teenage parents. My parents had me at 15 and 16 years old. So, statistics will say I'm supposed to be a different person. Based off of having young parents, right? But my parents had great parents. And so I just remember growing up with my grandfather, who passed away on my birthday in 2013. I remember those conversations with him about value and worth and how you show people how to treat you. And I remember him saying those words to me. You don't know what that means as a kid, right? And then it all starts to click as you get older. But I grew up in a household full of love. My grandfather loved on my grandmother. Like, you just grew up looking at them and saying, I want that too, right? Whoever I meet, gonna be like my granddaddy. He's just like my granddaddy. If you don't, then bye, right?
Then bye.
So it was living in a household where the people I loved the most led by example. And so it was growing up, you get to go to school, make good grades, you go off to college. That was the only option I knew, right? I even had friends who, when they decided they weren't going to go, I'm like, and your parents let you not go to college? Like, there was never an option for us. It was just what you were told that you were going to do. And so I knew that was them sort of creating that path for us, so that we can kind of walk into our adulthood with good foundation, great morals, and everything we needed in our little toolkit to be great, productive citizens, and just, outstanding humans. I always tell people I've come from a great family. The people in my family are just great people. I know people who are nicer, who are more helpful, who are more grateful. It was just the environment that we grew up in, and I absorbed every ounce of it and carried it throughout my entire life.
That's beautiful. And how has that impacted your parenting style?
I'm able to give my kids a lot of grace. I parent very different from my parents because they were young. They were teenagers, right? And so I'm more hands-on with my kids. I don't want to say my parents weren't present, but I spent a lot of my time with my grandparents because they, my parents had to graduate high school and then they went off to college. And so those years I spent with my grandparents. And so with my kids, I try to speak value and worth into them. We do especially with I have a teenager, 17, so she's ready to leave the nest next year. And I just hope that what was passed down to me, I pass down to her. I can see a glimpse of it. So sometimes I ain't gonna lie, I look at my kids and I be like, girl, you're doing a good job because I'm good kids, right? Yes. They don't get any problems. They don't get in trouble. The middle one got a little sassy mouth sometimes, but for the most part, they are really great kids. And I see that in how they treat each other, how they treat their cousins, how they treat their classmates, how they speak to adults, and just how they go about their little lives. And so I think you never know until, they're fully grown. They could be 40 and come back and be like, I hated my childhood because I didn't do it. I'm like, what? We did and try to expose you to, but you just never know.
Yeah.
What the outcome is going to be until they get older, But I have carried those traditions and those kitchen table, conversations and those dinners that we sit down with each other on Sunday and conversations we have around that table. I carry those into my child's, into their current childhood. And I just hope that they absorb as much as I absorb with my grandparents and my parents. Yeah, I hope it passes on, but
I know it will. Listen, girl, you are like, I don't call many people goals. Actually, probably like 2, and you are one.
Nervous when people call me that. When people use that word.
But listen, because I don't know how you do it. I like her Sunday brunches, or like whenever she cooks. It looks like something straight out of a magazine with like the layout is beautiful. Like she just has everything just out.
I like to host people. So when people come to the house, they don't want to leave. They come here and they feel our energy and our spirit and everyone feels welcome and you eat good and you laugh and you have great conversations. And I always say people leave my house better than they arrive. That's my goal when people are in my presence. But the sort of extravagant like dinners and brunches and things like that, it's more so for my kids. I want them to grow up being used to these experiences. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? I want you to grow up and you setting the table and everyone eating a meal together is normal. I want you to grow up and be accustomed to having nice things and being okay with it, being proud of it, And so it's part me just kind of scratching that creative itch, but also me being able to pass this on to them of great life experiences and collecting memories, along the way.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful. I love it. I love it. And I think it also, it's a full circle because it is also a reflection of how you care for yourself and how you care for your friends, your siblings, your parents, your husband. Like it is a true, it's like a circle. It comes back to you.
I'll take the compliment because I agree, friend.
Yeah, like I love it. I love it.
And me as your friend.
I love it. I love it. And I think that, one of the things that you and I have done such a phenomenal job at together is creating a space of sisterhood and that bond to where we work, we play, we joke, we cry, we laugh, we do all of the things.
Yeah.
And, looking, if you don't have that experience, I don't know For me, it's kind of normal. Like, it's a standard. I have very few friends in my life that I can't just pick up the phone and be like, girl, you trying to go somewhere? Right. Where we going? You know what I mean? Like, even if it's not in the city, like we going on a flight somewhere, we going, that is a standard for us. Yeah. Like, would love to hear from you, like, how that environment impacts you. Because I know for me, it's priceless.
I didn't always have this environment. I will say that. And I didn't always have a group of friends that I could just pick up the phone and, like you said, call and say, I need a break. How soon can you get to Atlanta or Miami or wherever? And I know I can call you and say that. And there are some other friends in our circles that we know we could call, and flights are booked in like 15 minutes and we ready, right? And so I think I shared this with you before in my therapy sessions, because I'm a lifelong therapy goer. So I don't just show up like this. This was a lot of work to get here. But we were talking about relationships. And I think I shared with you about how something I'm processing in therapy is I've never been in a toxic romantic relationship. The only toxic relationships that I've been in are toxic friendships with other women. And so when I got to a place to where I was able to accept that, right? Yeah. And then processing all of those relationships that I kind of removed myself from or let go or whatever happened, I was able to kind of see my role in it, which honestly, most of those instances, I didn't exit those friendships soon enough, right? So some of that hurt becomes self-inflicted. You linger around too long. But I got to a place to where I realized my value as a person, as a woman, as a mom, most importantly, my value as a friend. And when I realized that the people I was trying to be friends with didn't hold me within the same value, right? Yeah. We don't have nothing in common then. So why am I here other than you need something from me? Right? So when I got to a place to where I was able to distinguish when it was a business ship or when it was a real friendship, it became easier for me to trust people and let them into my friendship circle. And there's some vetting that happens, right? I got to see your level of crazy before I decide it's going to be a thing. Right. I'm about to stop your social media a little bit to see if this is going to be a thing. But I had to do that work on myself first. And then from that, I was able to be a little bit more open and trusting with other women and allowing them into my circle. But I like my circle small. I've never been one to need a large Rolodex of people or friends. Just my few key friends. And I don't really consider my friends to be all-purpose friends. That's not how I categorize my friends. There are certain friends I go to for marriage advice. There are certain friends I go to for financial advice. There are certain friends I go to for business advice. There are certain friends I go to when I'm hurt. And I know that person, will extend the empathy or the compassion that I'm looking for. And then there's those friends that will tell you, girl, you need to go fix it. Like, you the problem. Like, go apologize, go fix it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I try to make sure I just keep a good group of people around me who will check me when I need to be checked, but love on me when I need to be loved, and praise on me when I need that moment as well. And so you're my friend circle, girl.
Yes, girl. Yes. And you said something so impactful, and I don't know if you noticed it, but it aligns with when people show you who they are, believe them.
Yeah. Like, and don't wait the fourth or fifth time to believe them.
Yeah. I have a habit of doing that. I do.
I did too.
Yeah, I have a habit of doing that.
Also, the downside to that is when you are a person with strong boundaries like I am, you're always going to be the problem, right? To people who don't have boundaries. You're always going to be labeled as difficult, hard to work with, hard to get along with, rude, arrogant, like all of these words they use to describe you, when it really is, this is how I expect you to treat me. You chose to move this way, so I'm going to choose to move this way, right? Yeah. And so you don't have to be enemies. It just means you're not the right kind of person for me in my life in this season to be in my space in this capacity. And that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever had any of those individuals who may not have respected your boundaries at one point come back with a different perspective on
95% of the time they come back and apologize. Yeah. Yeah. That has been my experience, but I've also learned that some will never apologize because then they would have to admit that they're wrongdoing.
Yeah.
And they're not ready to do that. And so you just kind of cut your losses and just leave it where it is.
Yeah. And I've also learned that people see boundaries as like restriction. Like when in reality, it gives you freedom. Like it lets you know, hey, you can, I'll use this analogy as a playground. You can play all around this playground, but here's off limits. Please don't touch that.
Right.
And watch out for that.
Right. And the crazy part is, I can speak for myself. The friendships that I've canceled or just kind of let happen, whatever happens to them, I am one to communicate my boundaries. Yeah. Or I'll show you what my boundaries are. Yeah. And when you know that and you still choose to violate, it's a choice. Yeah. Yeah. It's a choice. And so, no, you can't use me. No, you can't mistreat me. Simply because I don't do it to you. For no other reason other than I don't treat you that way. I don't speak to you that way. So you're going to give me the same energy back. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And another thing that's connected to that self-worth is, the various forms of self-care and making sure that, as we are building, taking care of everybody, taking care of kids, checking on friends, checking on keeping, your husbands, making sure they good. Yeah. Making sure you're good too. And I know how important that is to you. So talk to me about, the importance of self-care for you and how you've implemented that into your business. It is a foundation. It's a pillar of my business. I have to be whole in order for me to give to other people, in order for me to serve my clients, in order for me to be there for my team. I have to be okay. Yeah. And so what that looks like for me is paring down to a 4-day work week, a 4-hour work week. I pay a lot of people every month. There's no reason why I should be doing all this work, right? Yeah. Yeah. And so trusting the people that you hire to do their job, right? Yep. That was one. And then being the example for my team as to how much I value self-care. I don't want you to sit and think that you have to be on your computer for 8-10 hours a day. If you want to go and catch a matinee at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday because you just really want to see this movie, girl, go. Right? Go. Girl, go. If you want to go get your toes done at 11 o'clock before our team meeting, or do your team meeting from your pedicure chair, girl, go. Right? And so it's me not having these restrictions on my team that empowers them to figure out how to incorporate into their daily life too, because they're looking at me like, well, my boss is on the ATV right now. And she's taking the meeting in the middle of the trees somewhere. But she said she needed to go and relieve some stress, and ATV was going to do it, and so here we are, right? And so I'm the example for them of what self-care and being a business owner looks like. And I want them to model that. And so I know that I have to show up as that in order for them to feel okay with it as well. And so it's a learning process every day. I don't get it right all the time, but I do take at least 90 minutes a day for myself to do something or nothing. Because that's the thing, that's self-care too, to do absolutely nothing. But I do have it blocked on my schedule that gives me 90 minutes a day to myself.
I love it. I love it. And I think you and I both have something in common with our teams where we don't clock time. So I don't care how long it takes you to get something done. If you get it done in 15 minutes, you just got it done in 15 minutes.
Right.
Just enjoy your day. You know what I'm saying? Like, it does not make sense to me to make somebody press a button that starts a timer that keeps track of how long they've been working.
And like, I'm sit there and work.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. That's not.
I don't think the world agrees. Post-pandemic, nobody's. No, and you see they trying to bring it back into the office and all that. No, because people are now realizing that it is indeed possible, and I consider it work-life harmony. So, like, not necessarily work-life balance, but finding harmony with what you do, right,
and how you live,
right. But there's also that people feeling selfish for taking time for themselves, right?
Yeah.
Yep. There's that whole thing that mostly women have to overcome of not feeling selfish about taking care of yourself, right? I'll never forget one of my therapy sessions, and I'm sure he don't care if I share this. I don't even remember what the question was, but no, he asked me, who do I love more? My husband, my kids, or myself? And I said myself. He almost fell out the chair. He said, no one would say that out loud. Well, I did.
Yeah.
I have to. Because that's the only way I know how to show up as a great mom, as a great wife, is if I'm good with myself.
Yeah. Yeah. That's powerful. That's very powerful, because we are also, society, I would say, makes women feel guilty.
Yeah, no guilt.
If they choose themselves first.
No, it's the whole putting your life vest on first analogy. Yep. You got to save yourself first.
And then out of saving yourself, you can then help others.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Lakesha, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For just everything. You're amazing. So, okay. So tell everybody how they can find you and what's your next moves? Like, what are you planning to do in your business and life?
You can find me at shepr.cole. If you're in need of PR services, if you are a publicist and you are looking to figure out how to find your balance when it comes to self-care and working in our industry, because our industry is stressful. Yep. Even if you just watch the news every day, right? Which most of us do. It's really hard to turn it off. And so we, more so than other professionals, have to be very intentional about taking care of ourselves, taking care of our mind, taking care of our body. And so you can go to LakeshaCole.com, your PR bestie, and you can catch up on all of the courses and workshops and whatever you need that's related to self-care as a publicist to kind of help steer you in the right direction. And if you need a little bit more assistance, you'll be able to find the information there.
I love it. And we're going to have all of Keisha's links so you can easily find her, locate her, follow her, subscribe, all of the amazing things. And I just want to thank you again for being here with us today. And
thank you for having me.
You know, of course. And everybody out there listening, please be sure to take some time for yourself and remember that all of that plays a huge part into the relationships that you are building, including your sister friends. So thank you again for joining us for today's episode, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this podcast episode of the Ezer Mindset Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to stay connected and in the know of all upcoming inspiring conversations with Altimese Nichole and inspiring women from all around the world. Until next time, stay soft and fearless, Queen.